Right, we are back and we are on the rift currently in game one. And one thing that we didn't talk about in as far as champion selects goes, is the double smite coming out from both Salty Chips as well as Chronosphere on the side of RP farmers. Shyvana, a champion who does extremely well with that smite as well as that Cinder Hulk build.
Yeah, so Smite Teleport is something we've seen quite a lot of in top laners these days, especially Shyvana really being able to build that Cinder Hulk, and also the challenging Smite being a very strong item, but it also opens up a lot of level 1 plays having those two smites, so you can see that RP farmers are using that advantage to really try and put some aggression down in Nubs' red side jungle.
Yeah, already with the gold advantage, 2.4 to 2.3 after being able to get that ward kill. Of course,
I believe that must be because Esk is running the support mastery, which gives him 40 extra gold, whereas Alcor Pisces is not. So I would imagine that means he's actually running heavily into the offense tree. So expect that Kennen to be doing a lot of damage in the lane.
and as far as poke goes between the two support champions, I mean, ESQ on that Morgana only going to be able to hit that binding and, of course, use a Tormented Soil. As far as consistent poke, though, I mean, Alcor is going to have a lot better time being able to throw out that Shuriken, considering that he's not mana-based.
Yeah, so having energy. In fact, I remember reading, a year or two ago, something a Riot developer was saying when someone mentioned the possibility of an energy-based support, and a Riot developer was basically saying, well, mana is one of the best way to gate support champions and really stop them from being a really harassing menace in lane. So Kennen with that energy-based champion is going to be able to, as you say, throw out those shurikens consistently without having to worry about mana. So yeah, that really is going to build up throughout the course of a laning phase, and I'm not sure how many of you really... Oh, so we didn't actually mention that we actually have a lane swap, so that's... For the moment, that's not actually going to become too much of a factor. You can see Salty Chips is actually jungling with Chronosphere, and the binding lands onto Maokai.
Yeah, he's already taken down about 200 health. Ignite being thrown down, forcing out the flash from Outbreak. Now, with this lane swap, it is going to be a 2v1, but you already have essentially the double jungle happening. Salty Chips being aware of what would happen.
Yeah, so Salty Chips understanding the power of that Sivir Kennen lane and really not wanting to try to be in that lane. I'm surprised he went for the Ruby Crystal 2 potions. Honestly, I think the better choice would have been that Doran's Shield. So they both give a reasonable amount of health. Sure, he does get one extra potion with the Ruby Crystal, but the Doran's Shield gives so much regen, and it also has a lot of damage mitigation from those auto attacks and those single target spells from those Shurikens. That said, Alcor Pisces on that cannon has actually now gone into the top lane to try and support out Outbreak of.
Yeah, and this is something that you usually see whenever there's a lane swap with a 2v1 scenario. The support ends up going and helping out that solo laner. In this case, now we do have the 1v1 between Shyvana as well as Sivir. The Wind doing quite... I mean, obviously being a ranged champion, going to be doing quite well against the melee, but the moment that those items start getting completed, as far as Cinderhulk ends up getting built, that burnout plus that passive on the Cinderhulk is... Wind going to have more difficult time in lane because you're going to be jumped on the face. Flash, though, being burned on Kuki as Noob ends up trying to go in for the gank. Lands onto the Chompers, down to about 200 health. Flash burned.
Yeah, some nice return crowd control and damage from that, bottom lane come top lane of RP farmers. So, unfortunately Cookie did have to burn his flash on that Jinx, but a good amount of return damage means they will be able to stay in this lane, and Luch is going really aggressive onto Vladimir.
Yeah, Peter taking down to about half health. Now, Luch did end up starting with the shield. Is that usually the best build to go with the Vladimir? I mean, Vladimir's that champion who can just continuously throw out harassment, continuously heal up, no matter how much you end up poking him down. So that shield seems to be paying off quite a bit.
Yeah, so... Just before I mention that, we can see Sejuani Chronosphere is actually hanging out in this top lane. I don't think he's been seen, so they're going in for a fight.
Black Shield was on, ends up going in on the Kuki, and he ends up giving first blood over to Noob. They're continuing this chase, trade over Chronosphere, picking up that Maokai. Now ESQ trying to run away from Alcor as well as Noob. They're going to walk away. Minion blocks out that Q.
Yeah, so you really have to wonder whether Noob knew that they were there and was waiting around for the counter gank, or was just waiting to go for a gank anyway. Either way, whatever the case was, it worked out quite well for Nubs there, and a 2-for-1 trade very much in their advantage. So, getting back to what you were talking about before, taking that shield on Orianna at level 1, I actually really like that play. Orianna's Command Protect is a very strong 1-point wonder. It's an 80-point shield at level 1, which is, you know, at level 1, 80 is a lot of health. It can pretty much entirely negate Vladimir's Q, and probably most of an auto attack as well. And Orianna's passive, that Clockwork Wind-Up, if she takes the shield and starts auto attacking you and you can't trade back, she's going to win that trade just about every time, even not against a Vladimir, even against other matchups that have, you know, more potential for level 1 damage. If Orianna takes Command Protect at level 1, she's going to win pretty much any trade against any mid laner.
Absolutely, of course. Now, another possible gank was looked for up in top lane as a binding hits Noob. There, the Chompers ends up landing, getting some CC, takes a tunnel out. But looking at this lane swap, it seems as if RP farmers are coming out behind in it between the two AD carriers, 48 to 29 CS, and then the top laners, of course, Shyvana coming out on top with that jungle farm.
Yeah, and I feel that was very much about the decision to move Alcor Pisces into that top lane, but we've got Chronosphere hanging around in this bottom lane, potentially looking for a gank. Doesn't look like he's going to find it. So, you know, Shyvana and Maokai, both fairly decent 1v2 laners. Both of them have some form of, you know, ranged damage to be able to hit the minions, last hit the minions in that range. Oh, Salty Chip's going quite low, but Chronosphere is here to back him up. So both Shyvana and Maokai, both able to function in a 1v2 lane, and the moment that you move that cannon into that top lane, it becomes, you know, a 1v1 and a 2v2 lane, but the big difference is the fact that you're facing Jinx against a Maokai, a ranged against a melee laner, and you've got two ranged champions in that top lane, and Maokai just isn't able to farm against that. You know, having Kennen there, having Alcor Pisces there, really doesn't make him any more able to walk up into that lane and last hit with his auto attacks. But having Kennen removed from that bottom lane, it really removes a lot of pressure from Salty Chips, and you saw he was able to pretty much run up into the minion wave, take a few shots from the wind, but really not able to put down enough damage to deter him from taking a few extra minions over Outbreak.
Of course, the score right now 1-2 in the favor of the side of Nubs. Of course, only a 300 gold difference that in the CS. Orianna Lush doing quite well against Peter, but Dragon now being started by the side of Nubs.
Yeah, so this lane swap has gone on for quite a while, and as a result, Nubs have decided that, well, this is our opportunity to take the Dragon. Their bottom lane still hasn't returned. They've still got two people in the top lane. You can see Esk is heading down, but he's going to be way too late. That is Dragon over to Nubs.
And I feel like part of the reason why they ended up having to give up the first Dragon too is because RP farmers weren't able to get that top lane turret fast enough like they were probably planning to do. I don't think they were thinking about Alcor roaming up to the top lane and supporting Outbreak on that Maokai.
Yeah, so, well, exactly as you mentioned, having him up there, you know, it might not have helped Outbreak CS quite as much, but it did help out a little bit with wave clear, and they were able to keep the tower up for a bit longer, and we saw the ganks going on. It allowed the 3v3s in the top lane, where they did come out ahead 2-for-1. And as you say, it kept up their tower for quite a while, which meant that RP farmers decided not to swap back their duo lane, decided to keep that duo lane up there until that tower went down, and led to that dragon going down. So, you know, even though it reflects badly in the CS numbers, in terms of map control and map objectives, sure, they've lost one tower for 0, but overall, they got the dragon for it, and they kept the tower up for quite a while. So overall, I think Nubs did actually come out slightly ahead in that lane swap, but there were trades to both sides, so it's not a significant advantage, just a slight one.
Well, blue buff now going over to Lush, and of course we're seeing the lane swap go back to its original lanes. We do see Kuki Roaming down to that bot lane. Of course, Salty Chips already here. Might be able to see something happen. Hopefully, they want to be able to turn this around as both the support as well as the AD carry roaming down into the bot lane from the side of RP Farmers.
And Kuki, I like that. 80 carries buying an early pink ward and putting it into... Oh, the fight in the bottom lane.
Yeah, the zap ends up missing as well as the dark binding. They're trying to get Wind, but Wind gonna be able to walk away. Those chompers not being able to prime fast enough in order to lock him up.
Yeah, that on the hunt, way too powerful. Just not able to catch that very fast Sivir. So, unfortunately, that gank does go awry, and they will continue pushing. I was expecting Salty Chips to go back to
Oh,
Nuke
slicing
here.
Maelstrom, though, as the knockup lands on the Kuki. He isn't getting taken down by Alcor. There's the ultimate coming out from Sejuani, but it's not going to be too much. ESQ as well as Chromosphere trying to get out, but it looks like they're just going to turn over another kill. Chromosphere gives a kill over to Noob, who picks up that double, and that gank heavily in favor of the side of Nubs.
Yeah, very good initiate, well, counter-initiate there from Nubs. Noob able to come in with the tunnel into the flash into the unburrow, and immediately followed up by Alcor Pieces flash into the slicing Maelstrom. Just so much AoE crowd control and AoE damage. You know, Kennen, in the late game he needs items to do damage, but as with most mages, in the early game, most of his damage is base damages, so that Slicing Maelstrom was doing just about as much damage as a solo lane Kennen's would have. So that was... You could see that RP farmers, they just melted, and it was just so much damage.
Just really good work for them. Of course, they are not able to take an objective off the back of it, but hey, kills are just fine, especially considering that needlessly large rod was just built onto Alcor, going to be working towards that Zhonya's hourglass. You mentioned that he was doing just as much damage as a solo lane cannon, especially, and they're really trying to use that utility with the needlessly large rod. That's even more damage coming out.
Yeah, and you notice he actually sold his Frostfang as well. He's going full damage, no support this game, not even a Sightstone, but importantly, he has actually picked up 2 Sight Wards. So, you know, even though he won't have the Sightstone, he won't really be able to keep up both the vision and the gold gain. So, yeah, it really is a trade-off here. He's spending a lot of... Oh, we've got a fight in the bot lane, potentially?
Yeah, they were looking for it. On the hunt is Pop, mostly for the escape for Alcor. But there's the Shockwave landing on the best Peter, as well as Salty Chips roaming into the mid lane. Flash being forced out. Oh. Not a kill, but at least map pressure.
And you saw Salty Chips. He was at 99 out of 100 Fury. He almost had his ultimate for that gank, but just didn't quite have it available. And I really wonder if he had that available, if he just waited to get that Fury up before ganking, would they have be able to convert that into a kill? I have to wonder that.
Well, I mean, you did have, on the backside, you did have Noob there for help, potentially. I mean, they might have been able to get a kill, but it would have been incredibly risky.
Yeah, it definitely was quite risky. He would have pretty much had to use the ultimate for initiation, and as he came in, Best Feeder Peter was already in his pool, so that by the time he came out of his pool, you really wanted to use that Dragon's Ascent for the knockback, but a nice fight in the mid lane.
Yeah, the knockup as well as the Glacial Prison does land. Slicing Maelstrom coming up from the backside, only stunning up about 2 people. Oriana's to be the focus as Lush gives a kill over to Best Feeder Peter. So far, it's just a 1-for-none train. They're just going to siege up this mid lane. And
you just saw the power of the AoE lockdown from Nubs' team comp there. It was actually kind of stuttered. So you saw RP farmers, they actually had a fairly good position in a 4v2, and they got, like, they did lock up both Noob and Best Feeder Peter, but unfortunately they just got flanked by all the AoE lockdown, and when you're not able to, like, if you have a good position at the start of the fight like that, and you're not able to convert it, that's just quite the fight's continuing.
Yeah, they're trying to do a little bit more as the Boomerang just barely misses. ESQ is going to be giving over that kill, giving it to Peter, and now Kuki, the one in trouble, being forced to use that summoner heal. Not going to be enough as Noob ends up picking that one up, and they're going to move straight to Dragon. This is a free Dragon if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, so Nubs really cementing their lead in this game right now. You know, they noticed, they knew that they had an extra pressure. They got a kill in the mid lane, and they were able to convert that into some jungle pressure. RP Farmers, unfortunately, they stuck around a little bit too long, not realizing the danger that they were in after having that lost team fight in the mid lane. So, Nubs, very good capitalization on that team fight win, converting it into some more, well, I guess a second team fight win, kind of two half team fights there, and converting that into a dragon. Some very good map rotational play.
Dragon number 2 now being secured by Nubs. This war is going to get cleared out by RP Farmers. What do they need to do to try and get back into this game? Right now, the kill spread 1-8, 2 dragons to 0, and of course, about a 3, almost 4,000 gold lead.
Yeah, so both teams actually have fairly similar win conditions. Both team comps are very much AoE teamfight oriented. The big difference at this point is the fact that, you know, Nubs, they have a 3,500 gold lead, and they've also got 2 dragon leads, so they're just ahead at this point, and if the teams kind of collide head to head, they're going to win with money. So at this point, RP Farmers, they need to look for smart rotational map plays and try and recover some of the advantage that they've lost.
And now just looking at the items, we do have that support cannon, Alcor Pisces, now with the Ancient Coin. And be still building up that support item, looking to probably rush in with that
Yeah, okay, I do... It's really, really interesting. So he decided to go with the Frostfang, or the Spell Thieves Edge into Frostfang for the laning phase to try and get as much gold as he could off of that item. And then moving into, he's obviously going to be building the Talisman of Ascension, you know, stacking with the On the Hunt, and basically the speed is going to be immense coming out from the Nubs team. They're going to be able to chase down RP Farmers from half the map away. It's going to be crazy once he does finish that item. And you can see he's going for a lot of damage, but still no Sightstone. So you can see the rest of his team though. You can see the rest of Nubs, their vision control is actually still fairly good when you look at the map. So the rest of the Nubs team, they're really accounting for this cannon build and making sure that the rest of them pick up enough wards to continue vision control despite the lack of a Sightstone on that cannon. You can see Noob actually has a Sightstone of his own, but Salty Chips is in a little bit of trouble. He's going to try and fend off this tower.
He's just trying to do whatever he can, try and get as much farm. Alcor Pisces was taken down to about half health in those trades. Of course, that killed him doing a lot of work combined with that burnout. But at the moment that multiple people came, he wasn't able to do too much.
But we saw there, that was, you know, that was basically what RP Farmers need to do. They had Salty Chips to fend off that push in the top lane, and, you know, being a tanky Shyvana with that smite as well, he's, you know, the smite is actually fairly significant in defending a tower because you can use it to quickly take down those cannon minions. So, you know, being able to fend off that push while the rest of his team, both Chronosphere, Cookie, and Esk, were all in that bottom lane, taking that bottom lane tower. So, you know, that's really what RP Farmers need to do. They need to hold off pushes in one lane, get some pushes in another lane, make sure they're always farming. In fact, you can see Luch is pretty much the unsung hero of RP Farmers at this point, and you can see the CS difference over Best Feeder Peter. He's pretty much the big winner at the moment. Nice flash there to be able to get out of that shockwave. And
yeah, but now they're going to get engaged as the smite ends up going down to Luch. Luch taking down fairly low, but it's going to be turret destroyed all while this is happening. And Cookie looking to pick up one kill, ends up picking up that one. That's going to be the shutdown, and the cannon goes down right in the middle of that Slicing Maelstrom. This is looking really good now for RP Farmers as they continue to seek up this mid lane.
Yeah, so that was a very interesting fight. It was kind of like a staggered engage there from Nubs, and it really allowed them to be taken down one by one. They didn't manage to get all of their AoE in a clump together, which is what they really need to be doing. And importantly, the wind wasn't there, so... Ooh, nice pick onto Chronosphere, but... Yeah, so I must admit that fight was so clumped. I kind of half saw it and half was like, what the heck is going on? Oh, wow, RP Farmers have managed to pull out a team fight win. So, yeah, so unfortunately, they do get a tower off of it, but they were all really low and they all had to back. So now Nubs are recognizing this and they're going to shove down this mid lane as fast as possible. RP farmers have finally realized what they're doing and they're collapsing on this mid tower to try and defend it.
Interested in seeing if a team fight is going to happen here. Of course, on the side, you do have Lush as a shockwave ends up landing on 2. The wind taking down incredibly low. Noob already basically out of the fight. He's not going to survive as Lush picks that one up. And of course, you have Outbreak trying to go towards that back line, trying to eliminate Lush, but it's going to be Chromosphere and ESQ. As the Dragon's Rage ends up diving straight in on top of these two. Outbreak gives a kill over to Lush, and now Best Feeder Peter is the focus. Who are they going to try and give this one to as the pool ends up going out for a little bit more survivability, but Lush will pick up that double. And of course, Alcor in the mid lane dealing with Kuki.
And we were saying Luch was the unsung hero of RP Farmers. He's not unsung anymore, picking up 3 kills in that fight. 2 kills? He got a double kill, but... Yeah, no, 2 kills, sorry, and an amazing shockwave to start that fight. And, you know, you can see he's got such a big advantage, 80 CS over Best Feeder Peter, and he's just doing so much more damage than that Vladimir is.
Yeah, with Salty Chips now being caught out just a little bit, being seen inside Noob's jungle. Noob's just saying, hey, get out, this is mine. Dragon is live, being if they're going to try and contest this. Of course, both Dragons so far of the games have been going over to Nubs, and it looks as if maybe this third one as well.
Yeah, well, the shockwave isn't quite available just yet, but more importantly, Luch isn't even there, so I really don't know if RP Farmers can actually fight this without that Orianna being able to help them, and they're going to go for it. They're going to try and get some poke down.
Yeah, the teleport already from Maokai. They're going to try and look for an engage after this as Alcor ends up trying to land a stun, walks away from the ball on the hunt's being popped, but there's the Dark Body Shockwave ends up landing on 2. Alcor already eliminated from the fight. There it is. Now you have Noob taking out of the fight, slicing Maelstrom just around the backside, not able to land a stun except only on ESQ. This is turning into favor of RP Farmers once again as the wind already at a quarter of health ends up using a beautiful spell shield in order to stop the Zap, picking up a kill, but giving another kill over to Lush. And so far, 4 for 2 overall in the fight.
That fight was played exactly how RP Farmers needed to do it. We talked about in Champions Select the Jinx-Sivir matchup. Both of them have a great amount of movement speed in team fights. Sivir's comes at the start, Jinx's comes at the end. We saw the On the Hunt was used to initiate, and Nubs, they went all in with their team comp. But RP Farmers, they kept kiting back, had Salty Chips and Chronosphere in the front line. Luch, Kuki, and Esk, none of them were touched by the AoE of Nubs in the back line. They just you know, sat just out of range of that AoE. You saw Kuki had just firing rockets out. Luch had quite a good long-range shockwave, and at that point, they were able to use the Sejuani Glacial Prison, turn the fight around, and have Kuki go in with those Get Excited resets to clean up the fight.
Absolutely. Of course, now the kills evened out 12 to 12, 39.2 to 35.7 as far as gold goes, now swinging over into the favor of RP Farmers as they started picking up kill after kill during each of those team fights. And it just seems as if they have a overall better 5v5 team comp from what it's looking like.
Honestly, I think the comps are fairly even. It's just that RP Farmers, they understand how not only their comp, but also Nubs' comp works, and they're really playing very well around both comps. You know, we saw that last fight in particular was a shining example of that. They're really playing around, you know, all 10 champions on the map very, very well.
And of course, now you have Noobs, just from one command attack with the dissonance, takes a quarter of his health from his bar. He's going to try and sustain that up with his passive, and right now it looks as if RP Farmers, they're in complete control as this minion wave top lane is pushed up, and they're just going to rotate and start focusing this objective.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they're quite strong enough to win a 5v5 underneath the tower, so they're just going to have to clear out the wave, maybe try and hit it with a few rockets, but for the most part, I think they're just going to have to back off. There is a wave pushing in the bottom lane in favor of Nubs, so that is going to have to be dealt with. We do see a ping going down onto the Baron. I don't think they're going to want to start it just with all of the Nubs in the area. I think they're just wanting to look for vision control and potentially look for a pick in this jungle. You can see they're all hiding on top of their own pink ward, and they're just waiting for someone to make a wrong turn. Aldor Pisces.
Alcor, almost that person who ended up doing that, but as you mentioned, this huge wave bottom is going to be hitting that tier 2 turret fairly soon, as everybody is on this upper part of the jungle. They're going to have to go and deal with that, potentially just giving up pressure on the map.
Yeah, so it's a bit annoying. Like, what do RP farmers do right now? They've taken the mid inner tower. They've got the two outer bot towers, two side inner towers up. They do want to make sure they have control around this Baron, and they also want to make sure they have control of the dragon when it's up. We see it's still got a few minutes left, but they will have pretty much the timer on that. In fact, it's 2 minutes left now. Sending Salty Chips into the bottom lane is the correct call, having that teleport to be able to get back to the Baron area if he's needed. But Nubs actually do have the map advantage right now, just because they have two teleports. Of course, both Outbreak's teleport and Noob's ultimate are down, but both of them, about less than a minute on their timers, so they will be up fairly shortly, and at that point they will be able to use that to kind of split the map to their advantage and be able to get to a fight if they do happen. Making sure they have control over this Baron is important, or at least they have some form of control. They're not completely blind in that area is really important for Nubs right now, and it's good to see that that's what they're doing.
Absolutely. Of course, the timer is known by both teams, and potentially what we could be seeing is at the moment that Nubs end up going for that dragon, we could be seeing a sneaky Baron take from the side of RP farmers. If that is done, I mean, Shyvana with that smite, with the Cinderhulk, it's going to be a very, very strong split pusher.
Yeah, and with 1 minute on the dragon, I really think that the teams should be looking in that area. Yes, the Baron is important, but it's a lot harder and a lot slower to take down. But, I really like this play. They know that they're not warded out, and they know that they're not seen. And they're just trying to bait the Baron, and in fact, Nubs aren't even checking this. They could be doing the Baron right now.
And there it is. They do end up starting this Baron. This is going to be a cheeky Baron startup, already down to about half health. It's checked, and it's like, hey, they're starting Baron. They're going to end up trying to steal this, or are they just going to end up giving it up? Is secured by the side of RP Farmers. So that's a free Baron.
Yeah, no, it was good. Very good play, because they knew that they weren't seen. They were waiting for a pick, which is the correct thing to do. If you start the Baron too quickly and the other team comes and finds you, you're especially against a 5v5 AoE time comp, that is so dangerous. Like, the potential of a Cannon Slicing Maelstrom, Hemoplague, Unburrow Rex, like, there is so much AoE damage that can come out. If you're caught by that in the Baron pit, that is just basically going to lose you the game. So they sat around knowing they weren't seen, waiting for a pick, and then as soon as they saw where Nubs was, and they saw some vision in the mid lane from their own minions, and they saw that Nubs weren't actually coming for them at the Baron area, that is when they started the Baron, and that is the correct call. And RP farmers, they're rewarded with it. They're rewarded for it with a Baron. And actually able to make that play over to the dragon. A little bit of a cheeky Super Mega Death Rocket trying to steal out that blue buff, but not going to get the timing for that.
But now you have Outbreak being chased down as the Soul Shackles is going to try and lock him up, forcing out the flash. He's locked in place. There it is. The Shockwave ends up bringing him back. He can loosh another kill, 6-1 and 6, as well as this tower.
And Outbreak just too hesitant on that flash button. The Morgana Soul Shackles does actually apply a slow to you, so by the...
Slicing Maelstrom ends up going in. They're trying to make a lot happen. The Zhonya's is immediately deleted as Q picks that one up. Hemoplague trying to secure some kills, but doesn't see it. Glacial Prison lands onto one. Noob not looking in a safe zone right now as the double goes on the Kuki. Now the Wind is going to be the next person to drop down, giving that triple kill on to Kuki, and this is an inhibitor for sure.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is just about the game. They might not finish it here, but they've amassed such an advantage at this point that that Nubs are going to have a very difficult time coming back. And I do think that they had to fight there. They really had to somehow stop this siege from going on, and what their team comp does is 5v5. I just think that Alcorpiches, he pulled the trigger, about 2 seconds too early. His team wasn't quite there with the follow-up. Best Feeder Peter went in fairly soon afterwards, but not immediately afterwards. Only once the Zonius was popped did Best Feeder Peter manage to get in there. And importantly, the wind wasn't quite there either. So he just got a little bit too far ahead of his team, and unfortunately the follow-up AoE wasn't there, so all of RP Farmers, they did manage to get out with about a quarter health bars on each member. So that fight could have been done a little bit better, but it was the right idea from RP Farmers. Oh, Chronosphere's in trouble.
As he is continually being chased by 2 people. They're going to try and pinch, but he ends up getting away safely. He's just going to steal over this Gromp. And now they're going to group up in this mid lane, considering that the top lane is just going to be pushing itself with the super minions. Is there anything right now that Nubs can do in order to turn this around in their favor?
Well, they have to hold their towers, and now that the Baron buff's worn off, that's going to be a lot easier to do than it was a few minutes ago. And I think they do have the capability of doing it. So, again, yeah, their first priority is just... Oh, Alcorpiche is so much damage right there. He's going to have to be careful of that. Luch is just doing some obscene damage right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now she's sitting on a Zhonya's Hourglass, a Void Staff, and a Rabadon's Death Cap. 6-1 and 8, 322 CS. Absolutely massive in this game. Outbreak trying to get away, but it doesn't look like he's going to, as the zap hits him, as well as the Glacial Prism landing on 2. The pool being forced out. There's the Dragon's Rage. There's zoning out Best Feeder. Slicing Maelstrom onto the backline as the Zonians has popped the stun, landing on the 3, but Lucius throws out the ball and completely takes him out. Not even slightly survivable. The wind ended up taking out the Sejuani, but now you have Salty Chip zoning out 2. Not going to survive, giving a double kill over to the wind. 3 versus 3 now, but the turret, the next Nexus turret has already been taken out by the super minions, and they are working on this next inhibitor turret. Luch, 1 command attack plus the dissonance already just so strong, takes him out right away.
Yeah, this is most likely going to be the game to RP Farmers. Unfortunately, for the second time in a row, Outbreak caught just before a fight starts, so not having that really big frontline Maokai in your fights is just so important, and they will hold up their last Nexus turret, but with 2 inhibitors down and the gold lead only growing, I really do think it's only a matter of time before RP Farmers close out this first game.
Absolutely. Baron's going to be up in a minute 30, something that they could be looking for. Take Baron, rotate bot lane, and just siege that up as super minions are just pushing into the base.
Yeah, so as you said, the super minions pushing into the base from 2 waves at once means that Nubs, they pretty much have to just stick in their base and clear them out. A nice pink ward going down. When you have your base broken like this, you do need to make sure that you have pink wards in your base just to fish out any potential, teleport wards. So if you've got wards inside, enemy wards inside your base, that's a problem if a sneaky teleport comes down. Once your inhibitors come back up, you really want to be using that relieved pressure to get out and control vision of your own jungle. So, and at that point, you don't want to have a teleport coming in and backdooring your inhibitor to take it out immediately. So they need to keep this tower up, this last inhibitor tower up, and Salty Chips is just going to tank it. I don't think they have any hope of keeping it up at this point.
Yeah, they just don't care. They're going straight onto this inhibitor. I mean, Dragon's up. They didn't even bother with that. Baron's up in 20 seconds. They didn't even bother with that. They're just brute forcing their way onto this last Nexus turret. It doesn't seem as if Nubs are going to be able to answer this siege. And this is going to be RP possibly taking out the win. They want to look for something. They have to fight here. They end up diving into the back line. Glacial Prison lands onto Alcor, and they're all jumping in. Shockwave lands on 2, immediately taking them out. The Slicing Maelstrom trying to do what it can, but it's just not going to be enough. They're so far behind that these kills are just automatically going into the favor of RP Farmers.
Yeah, at this stage of the game, this is the stage of the game I like to call winning with money. RP Farmers, they're so far ahead that they don't need to do the same outplays that they'd been doing in team fights throughout this game. They just have to go right head to head and just bash at each other and use their item advantage to win the fight and close out game one. A very, it looked at the start that Nubs had got off to quite a good start, so very well done from RP Farmers. I'm very impressed that they managed to come back into that game and take it out.
Absolutely, but that is game one of the best of 3. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be coming back with game 2. Who's going to win? Nubs going to be able to even it out at 1-1, or will RP Farmers take it out with a 2-0 sweep? Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.